All right, are we live? We are live. Okay, so I would like to preface the beginning of this, I guess, devlog and the beginning of the journey of designing the Obsidian Mantle. Um, I want to preface it with I have zero knowledge on game design, coding with Godot, which is what we'll be using. I figured it was the best one to start for a beginner coder, and it just kind of seemed more intuitive for me as I was looking through different engines. And the coding language looked relatively easy in comparison to others. So I have no coding knowledge. I have zero game design knowledge in terms of music, artwork, any of the above. Um, but I do have some base ChatGPT knowledge in prompt engineering. I've used it for the last couple of years now, and I've figured out how to get it to do what I want. Not too long ago, they introduced the code executor. I guess really not an executor, but more of a code writer per se. It's not really going to execute any code in the session or the environment, but it will write the code for you. Um, so I'll be using it to kind of teach me to write actual code. I mean, if I can get it to write the entire game, muy bueno. But that probably won't be able to happen because I don't know how to code in Godot, so I won't be able to give it enough context to get the entire game coded. So I'll be using it for research and things like that when I am at a stop or I've met a wall in the design process. There's a lot of interesting things ChatGPT can do. It can create the code. It can create images. So I'm kind of brainstorming using it to create the pixel art. Maybe I'll have to use an outside source, but we'll see how that does end up working. Um, so let's just begin, hop right in, and see what's going to go on. I am going to get our music started here, so I can start lowing a little bit. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is create like a game design document or something where I can keep my thoughts organized and just kind of keep the process organized. It's how I like to work typically. So let's see what we can do here. ChatGPT, I would like to design. Also, bear with me on any typos, errors. ChatGPT usually kind of helps out with that as well, but I'm going to be kind of speed typing to get this thing done quicker, so I'm not wasting any of your time. I would like to design an indie game. Okay, actually, let's do it like this. So in the past, I've found for me and kind of bettering my workflow to create an entity or to kind of take ChatGPT outside its normal context. What that means is I'm going to have it create an entity, and this entity is going to assist me, but this entity is going to have a little bit of context. So ChatGPT, I would like you to create an entity. The purpose, no, let's not do the purpose. Let's make it a little bit more story based. This entity is an expert in the field of indie game development and the Godot engine. So with ChatGPT, the more context you give and build, the better it can help you with your goal. Um, Typically, I have like pre-structured formats I like to make, but we're just kind of flowing today. We're just going to kind of let it go, and I think that's how I want to do this design process throughout the entirety. I don't want to sit there and waste too much time on prompts, so um, I could go over layered prompts or multi prompting. There's a lot of different things we could do later, but for now, let's just stick with kind of a nice, simple, easy workflow. So this entity is an expert in the field of indie game development in the Godot engine. I'm specifying Godot engine here, so I don't have to worry about it later. If I try and get it to write code later and it loses its context as the conversation goes further, it gets super annoying and I have to reintroduce the context per se. So if I get it in there now, I don't have to worry about it later. So we've kind of created its purpose or its role, for instance. Now let's create its purpose. This entity is this entity will assist the user in creating and developing his game. Perfect. Let's add a little bit more juice in here. The tone. Now let's do like this. The entity is a master at teaching beginners. What's up, Get Gopher? How are you today? I am using ChatGPT to design my game, from the actual creation of the game design document, the mechanics, the kind of thematic scene and setting, to the coding in Godot. It's kind of experimental, and I'm going to see what I can do here. Right now, I'm creating an entity in ChatGPT that will assist me in the process, actually. So, kind of setting some parameters. Yeah, I appreciate it, bud. Thank you very much. So here we go. This entity is a master at teaching beginners, at teaching new developers. It's teaching new developers how to start the design process. And now let's just leave it there. I don't need to get too crazy with here. So let's just let it ride. Okay. Okay, so for the... Yes, I will be using Godot. I believe it's GDScript, so in my Godot environment, I'm still a huge beginner at Godot. So I'm kind of using this to learn Godot as well. I just find using ChatGPT helps me learn in a kind of specific manner, I guess. Do you have any N4 knowledge on Godot, Gopher? Typically, but ChatGPT will do pretty much all the Godot scripts that you would need as long as you give it the context. I believe. I actually haven't. I've done a few test runs, and it's, I've gotten a character to move and things like that so far with ChatGPT. I don't know how deep it will go, but I am curious to see how this whole process will work. Okay, master game and the developer. Would you like to? Yes. Let's give it a. Let's change the entity name. I'm not super cool on Godot Sage. Entity name. Being very specific with ChatGPT is incredibly helpful as well. Also go from kind of recording as well, so I'll be talking, recording, seeing how it all works. Well, so are you able to code in Godot with Sharp? I've tried using some of the other engine. I guess really I've tried using Unity, and it really wasn't very intuitive for me to begin with. So I wanted to kind of try Godot. I messed with it a couple days ago, and it just seemed a little bit more intuitive. I'm a complete beginner with any coding knowledge or any of the environments that the engines are in. So Godot just kind of seemed like the quickest to pop, and I wanted to do some like a 2D top-down, so it kind of seemed a little better for me. You're probably very right with the no, I'm absolutely no programmer. That's kind of, I'm trying to test the limits of what GPT could teach me and how it'll work and all that fun stuff. Let's change the entity name to something more simplistic. I want its tone to be motivational. Its focus. No, I absolutely like the programmer. I just got to start somewhere, And this is kind of what's interesting me pretty much now, so we'll see how it ends up rolling. I don't really know how to work, and this is definitely not a typical learning method. But I am super into ChatGPT and kind of AI language models, all the good stuff, and I wanted to see how far I can actually take ChatGPT as a mentor in a process like this. That's kind of so long and in depth. Absolutely, absolutely. I'd start at the top and work my way down. I've kind of done that for everything, and it works for me. It does. Start at the top of the building instead of walking through and going up the elevator, you know? But I always end up figuring out good solutions and things to that effect. So the focus of the entity will be uh, design principles and design principles. Let's just add all of the above. This time be motivational and add all of the focuses in the above. And the above. Let's just do it like that. Okay. Nova works. Let's go with Nova. Yes. Yes, yes. Let us. So what language are you using now? Or what did you end up transferring to? Python or something to that effect? While designing our I don't know what that. I'm not too knowledgeable. So what would the dancing cat be? Is that a cat? Yeah. Oh, Gopher. Or is it? So is Gopher the programming language? Oh, Golang. Let me look that up. Golang, the Go programming language, builds simple, secure, scalable systems. Interesting. Hmm. So what do you primarily code? Or I guess what is your niche in the field, for instance? Networking and infrastructure. So are you kind of freelance or do you work for a development company? You don't need to get into personal information, but oh, heavy industries. Well, I guess what do they specialize in? Or I guess what's the main project types that you work on? Okay. Interesting, man. How long have you been doing that? KVM containers, KS8. I'm assuming containers would be session or I guess sandboxes. The rest of the jargon, I'm not sure, but kind of like a virtual machine, something like that. Very interesting. Yep, when I was younger, I used to mess around with a lot of virtual machine stuff and messing around with that application deployments and automating that. Fun. So do you? I guess how does that work? The only automation stuff I've done is kind of with web applications, Zapier, things like that, using ChatGPT to kind of applicate or what's the terminology I'm looking for to automate the processes. To the top down sandbox. To the top down sandbox roguelite set in a dark fantasy. So what do you like working on the most? Like if you could pick anything you could do anytime, what would you end up rocking out with? How long did I'm DevOps actually? 3 years ago, and since 2 years, I'm fully occupied with. I need to be like you, man. That sounds so fun. Let's target PC users. I imagine you're the first person they go to. I mean that when something messes up, they go for where you at. This is broken. Fix it. Thanks. So, do you have any tips, or do you have any, I guess, tips for me in a process like this, or kind of learning a language? So, for you in the process, and I'm understanding that you're no game dev, but when you started learning to code, did you go to school for it? Was it self-taught? Kind of how did that work for you? Mm. That is awesome. Yeah, I was also kind of the script kiddie kid in school too, but I went to another path. I didn't go to school for coding, but at my age now, I'm kind of trying to transition back to that. I always enjoyed it, and I'm able to learn now, and the internet's got everything I need. So, so do you find you're using math quite often, or is it more like math logic, like if then statement kind of stuff, or are you constantly having to use math in your process? Let's see how this fleshed it out. Good, good. That was always, uh, I guess, my biggest wall growing up, trying to contemplate and getting into coding. I always, for some reason, I always had a misrepresentation that it was filled with maths and things to that effect. But as I've gotten older, I've realized it's not necessary. And there's tools you can use, and it's yeah, I guess if you're designing algorithms for like trading or day trading or something to that effect, I'm sure you need to have a pretty deep understanding. Hmm. Okay, let's see what it gets here. So what's your like ideal project to work on? one where you have like the most fun, or you find yourself kind of locking in, I guess. Ooh, I like that territory control. Very interesting. Roguelike each range offers permanent locks, which is what matters. So would orchestration monitoring be, I guess, could you explain a little bit more? Or can I explain those two, orchestration monitoring and failover, for me? The central story, what a mystery. Very interesting. So if you've got, let's say, I don't know, some aviation software that needs to continuously run, for some reason it errors, fails, it reloads on its own, keeps it moving, and kind of doesn't disrupt the workflow process as much. What kind of instances would you need to kill the app? It's actually kind of interesting. I never really thought about having to forcefully shut the app. Is it if it starts displaying info it shouldn't, or if it errors, I guess? Got it. Got it. So if you're storing, I don't know, like usernames, passwords for a database, and for some reason it's not syncing the user to its, I guess the creation of the account. It's kind of out of time sync, or the timestamp is off. Because of that, it might not actually save the creation, quote unquote, of the account. I'm just kind of simplifying it for myself. Kind of try and translate. Ah, that makes a whole lot more sense. So have you had any instances where that like completely fumbled? Let's see what we got here. So is this a project you work on, or is this something you use as a tool? Excellent. Let's save that for some further reading. I'm always interested in learning this stuff, so it's cool, man. Mhm. Sounds like you're juggling a lot, man. Mm, let's see, kind of see what this turns out. I'll get a little deeper in a minute. So is it like a typical 9 to 5? Do you make your own hours? You work from home, or you just vibing all day? So you primarily work from home and then head to work, or? Yeah, I'm the same with work. I've got to be able to interact with people, or else I just get a little stagnant, to be honest. That's not bad though. A job where you can kind of crush as many hours as you need to, but conversely, you might have a week of 30 hours, just kind of relaxes. That's actually ideal. Keeps it from being too boring, but also over stressful. Hmm, that's a good question. What kind of game should it be inspired off of? I don't really know any dark dystopian fantasies, but I like the Darkest Dungeon guy. Ooh, historical influences. It's kind of interesting. Nah, names feature muted. So do you work with a big team at the firm, or is it just kind of small team for the per project, for instance, or kind of how does that organization work per se? Uh, Designed to evolve. I can't fucking make any pixel art, so let's do. There you go. And is it a constant project you work on, or are they rotating projects based on needs, kind of, or like client need? Okay, we're almost done with this design document. Yeah, if you have any input on anything I'm doing as well, feel free to chime in, man. Always interested in getting outside opinion. Plus, if you want to run it, I have a bunch of servers in 3 physical locations in the cloud. Awesome. Now, are you salary based or kind of like per hour? Or yeah, I guess do you bill hours or is it completely salary based? Good, good. That works. Four. Focus on the 4. Let's favor over C sharp. No, keep that as is. Modular design. Would that be breaks down in terms of smaller parts module? Yeah, let's make it modulars. Modular design. How do you mean waterfall style? As in like a kind of top down, or are you talking about the file structure? Some core functionality to see if you get the basics. As far as inside Godot itself, I'm assuming you mean things like kind of setting up a basic character, getting it to walk and move? Or am I completely out of the ballpark there? That's kind of how I was getting, or kind of wanting to do it. You know, start with something basic and just kind of build out from there. I'm about done with the basic document here. I just like having something to refer to. ChatGPT can be kind of weird with its memory per se throughout sessions. So if you don't have something you can kind of have it refer back to, or copy paste and bring it back to where it was at, it might get lost in the sauce. I think the substance will turn out wrong, but that works for me. So if I was creating the map, for instance, I'm just completely focusing on the map, not touching anything else to begin with, or even a character design. Okay, here we go. Spread sounds, tile sets, fonts. Game debut for the characters. Yeah, let's do that to start. I've got a feeling. Yeah, I've got a feeling. ChatGPT wanted to run that way as well. At least getting something to move and getting the camera going and all that good stuff. That's why I find ChatGPT like super interesting to use. For me, it's been crazy helpful in learning things. With work, with anything else, I kind of set up an environment like this for it, and it'll start at the base. Because, like you said at the beginning, I tend to do a top down, just jumping on the top of the building. Imagine. Sounds, tile sets, fonts. Cheers. That's not moving like I want it to. Let's try. So implement in the world comes after you know how your character interacts with it. Interesting. Character interacts with it. So get character moving, get its skills, get it its things. I can just figure out the character first, or just how a character works. Is kind of where I should be rocking. Characters, enemies, UIs, world. Oh, we don't want that. We want this in the same folder. UI was the last. Oops. It's gonna keep bugging me. Scripts player enemy systems shaders configured. All right. I'm not sure how scenes work in Godot. I wonder if scenes are, for instance, initial like levels, quote unquote, or if it's kind of like one big. I guess we'll dig into that once I get just the first thing set up. I was planning on 2D, just to keep it easy for me. My design or my artistic creation skills are awful, so I'm planning on using a lot of free assets for like a pixel art type. ChatGPT also has Dolly, which is like their image generator. So I'm going to test and see how that'll work. I'm going to try and use ChatGPT for as much as I can for this to just kind of see how I can push ChatGPT. I played around with a few different pixel generations through it a couple days ago, and it came out okay, but it's kind of hard to keep a specific theme to a character. So if I need to like change, like give it a walking animation, it's really hard to keep the same character design and keep it consistent. It'll change little details, and that'll be kind of a pain. But just for a general idea, I think I can get it to work. And I think there are other free, quote unquote, tools I can use to generate the pixel art. I'm going to try and make as much as this game generated as possible because I have an incredibly limited budget and zero art skills. So I think that'll be the toughest part for me, is actually getting the visual down, just getting the aesthetic and having it consistent throughout the game. Enemies, players, systems. How do I keep doing that? Yes, I have a few. I guess it's not the one I want to use per se, but I do have. I downloaded a couple packs just to get a base feel. I think I'll kind of start designing it with that. I can always just replace the sprites later with more custom to the theme of the world. Just for now, I just want some placeholders to kind of play around with and really see how they work in Godot, because I've got no clue. All right, so from what I do, remember 2D node, add a camera 2D. So let's go and say I already have. Can't rename here. Camera 2D. Okay, so here's an interesting way we can kind of break this down. Step 2 was the initial scene setup, yeah. Okay. Middle 4, new scene. Name the node to game to reflect the scene's purpose. That is root node for ideal 2D games. Navigate to scene folder and save the scene. Okay, cool. I guess, would you consider the camera to be UI at all? I like to try and keep organized. I guess I can just throw it in the scenes folder. Create new scene, main.ts, save. Oh, okay, let's redo that. Camera. Enable it to make it the active camera. Set it to vector 1.5 by 1.5. Interesting. I'm guessing that means it's vector. Let's see any other option. Get to that later. Left 0, right 50, or 5,000. Settlements once the world's in place. Alright, I'm not too worried about that now. Add a basic UI layer. The camera for player tracking done. Let's see. Go into that. Yeah. Built out you knows I can create bait. Okay, cool. Basic 2D mode, yeah. Okay. Set a canvas layer. Why am I losing the rename here? At a control node, it acts as a container. Okay, so texture progress. So then it must be texture progress bar. Cool fucking beans. Set max value to 100 and min value to 100. Add a label for the inventory. Temporary placeholder. Set text to okay. What am I doing here? Keep it like this for now. So you got any tips on where I should go forward, Gopher? Or you got any insight? So this is simply a placeholder. All right, let's see if this runs. Let's select current. Interesting. Why do I keep moving these? We've got an actuals. Okay. Uh-oh. Hold on. Oh, no, I don't have the canvas there. What was it called again? Texture progress. Style using custom styles. Expand the theme overrides styles section. Where is styles? Oh. Box flow. Hmm. In the inspector, theme overrides. Uh-huh. Don't want that. Don't really want to add the asset. Put the body. Rectangle. Now, so now we go here. Okay, now is where we gotta add the assets, right? Okay, so uh, we want mouse input. Let's say save WASD for camera stuff later. Okay. No, we don't want to. So, sure. Maybe not. Maybe not. Is the camera active when the game starts? Where is current at? We might have to Google this, but we can still use ChatGPT to do it. So typically it will pull videos from online, but if it can't find a specific video based on what I'm searching for, or if the servers are just kind of slow for ChatGPT, sometimes it kind of limits its capability. Kind of unfortunate, but that's all right. We can still perform a manual Google search. We won't watch
Hello.
this whole video, but
Add a
we
camera.
will
So
do.
as zoom, maybe limits, which this stuff is going to be what we're going to be using. Camera is just another viewport. If we take our, we can take this camera and we can make it a child of our icon, right? So we're going to be very, very enclosed, and we can change this stuff.
Let's say for all intents and purposes it's working. We will see if it actually does later on. Okay, so let's add a basic interaction system. And the scenes, create a new scene called interactable. Add a static body. Okay. Maybe let's add this in world. Or let's just make a new folder. Okay. And the static body 2D as the root node. Looks like we need to give it a shape. Okay, so this is pretty much similar to the character nodes. Collision shape 2D. We will make it a rectangle. Do one of these. Just gonna put it off to the side of the box over here so we get the character moving a little bit when we get to it. Remember, I do have some assets for this. Let's minimize all these. Add a new folder. So this is all for just testing purposes. Obviously, this PNG is a bunch of different chests. Let's get this guy to move here. Okay, I still want it to look somewhat decent, so we're gonna go right here. Does this need to be a new script? I'm curious. I'll do something like that. It's not looking right. Okay. Inside the input function. Okay, so actually, no. So the cool thing with ChatGPT, if you're getting errors, you can put in your errors. Let's see what it'll do to fix. Okay, let's see. So it's just ChatGPT using old code. That should be fine though. Still line 14. And bam! There we go. Unused parameter. Line 21. I gotta keep doing underscore delta. All right. Whoops. Let's see. Ooh, big zoom. We're cooking with gas a little bit, I think. Let's get rid of this camera for just a time being. I wonder if that's messing things up. That is not moving how I want it to, but we got it moving. Very, very cool. Okay.